Should we bother about what we should have in front of me? I have 4 files. What should we have?
What's the chat files? So I think that's 7, 8, and 9. We're going to continue with those for a little while longer. General, do you have those files in front of you?
I have files in front of me that were put here in front of me. I guess these are the right files.
They should be. Can you open file 8, please, General? Chair, file 8, page 546.
File 8, page?
Page 546. It's just a hangover from yesterday before we turn to a new theme, and it relates to the event at your house on 14 September 2024. And what you'll see at 546 is a conversation again between Sergeant Nkosi and General Shibiri, and at looks like 8:28 p.m. Yes, 8:28 p.m. It's chat number 6. Just wait for the chair to get the page. You there? Thank you, Chair. It's chat number 6. And what Sergeant Nkosi says to General Shibiri is, Kat has arrived there. And then General Shibiri responds immediately saying, I don't see him. And then he says, General Shibiri says to Sergeant Nkosi, where are you? Okay. Now, do you recall yesterday I asked about conversations between you and General Shibiri and Mr. Matlala?
Yes.
And you said that at no point did the three of you sit together and talk.
Yes.
But General Shibiri also confirmed was there. What I'd like to ask you is, well, a few questions. First is, do you know why General Shibiri would be interested in knowing that Mr. Matlala has arrived?
No, I won't know, number one. And number two, I wish I could be questioned on my communications with Shibiri or with Mr. Matlala or with Mr. Nkosi. But now I get asked questions about the conversation between the two people.
Yeah, I'm getting there. It's fine. I asked you a question whether you have any idea, whether you know of why.
I don't.
Just answer the question.
No, I don't.
And we'll make progress. The second is, did you observe any conversations between General Shibiri and Mr. Matlala at your party?
No, not that I'm aware of. When in a busy and in the evening, really, it wasn't my focus.
Okay, so you don't, do you not recall, or is it just that you were busy?
No, I don't recall. To me, it was a. Remember, we didn't know we will be here one day, so to me, it wasn't something to take into mind.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to put to you that this was a conversation that was happening about Mr. Matlala arriving at your house. I'm going to move off from, unless there's anything from the commissioners, I'm moving to a different topic.
Yes, can we just complete the picture, General? Good morning.
Morning, Commissioner.
This event, was it in a tent outside or was it inside the house?
It's not inside the house. It is in a tent outside.
So there was a marquee outside the house?
Outside the house.
And how many people roughly were there? You don't have to give me the exact number. Around 8 p.m. that day, how many people were there? More or less 20, more or less 40?
We planned for 20, but later as friends call one another, then you lose control of the situation. So I can't tell whether they were now ended up being 30, 50, somewhere there. But at that point in time, it's no longer a concern. The only thing is is what is happening at that time.
So between 30 and 50, you say?
It's possible, less and even less.
And I'm assuming because it's an engagement party, people were giving speeches.
No.
What was happening?
What was happening is that because it was my sons
Yes.
with the friends and everything. So what we did was just to guide her on like, for instance, when the lady comes, she didn't know. It was a surprise one. And she didn't know, and this one had flowers and a ring, and then as she came, that's when it was like, wow, and then even the friends, most of the friends were here and everything, and there was that type of exercise when she shows that she's surprised, and then this one kneel down and then talk to her and then put the ring in her finger, and then from there they go in there. So I don't remember of the speeches mostly, but it was more of a celebration.
And I'm assuming, I mean, you would have no interest in your son's friends because they are the young crowd. Your focus would be on the older crowd, including your friends and people that you know and the people that you invited.
As I indicated, that I never invited even a single friend.
No, you said Cat must make a 10. That's an invitation. Whatever you call it, when you say somebody must make a 10 at your house, that's an invitation. And I'm assuming you invited Sergeant Nkosi because he won't just show up at your house uninvited. And I'm assuming General Shibiri, you also invited him because he won't just show up at your house uninvited. Same with General Sintumule. She wouldn't just show up at your house uninvited. So at least those 4 colleagues, 3 colleagues plus Matlala, were at your house because you said they must make a 10.
That I don't deny, but I just want us to stress and keep in mind at all times is the fact that Cat is not my friend.
No, I didn't say he was your friend. I said those 4 people were at your house because you invited them.
That's correct.
And when you invite people to your house, as I said, you would welcome them because they can't just come into your house and you don't know who's in your house.
They will come and they will greet, and then I will show them where to sit.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
So that part did happen.
With my colleagues, yes.
You did greet Mr. Matlala.
Like I indicated yesterday that he came in. Remember, as he came in, I wasn't waiting somewhere, waiting for his arrival and then him coming and me greeting him. It's not how it happened.
Yes, that part I accept because you said there was security at the gate that was ushering people in.
Yes.
I'm now concerned with your interaction with Mr. Matlala. You greeted him.
I greeted him. I did indicate that at some point we bump into each other.
And
I saw
you
him.
welcomed him and you said you can take a seat and be comfortable.
Yes, so I greeted him and then said, no, welcome.
Yes. No, I just wanted to complete that picture. Thank you.
General, good morning. The chat where Sergeant Kosi says Cat has arrived there. It suggests that General Shibiri expected that Mr. Matlala would be there or should be there. That's the only way that this message, Cat has arrived there, makes sense, because it's not preceded by anything that explains why Sergeant Nkosi would tell General Shibiri that Cat has arrived. I mean, if you look at the texts, that start at 8:03:15, General Shibiri, and then Sergeant Nkosi says at 8:03:48, 30 minutes, I'm there. That's what Sergeant Nkosi says, if you're looking at this page. And then General Shibiri says night rider. And the next communication between them is Cat has arrived there. It appears a random chat that's not preceded by anything. And the reasonable, I want to suggest to you and hear your comment that it is reasonable to read it as indicating that General Shibiri expected that Matlala would be there. That's why Sergeant Nkosi, without prompting from General Shibiri, tells him Cat has arrived.
I don't think there's a, nobody is denying that there's a relationship, some sort of a relationship with Matlala, with Shibiri, or with Matlala and Nkosi. So these are people, or even myself, let me include myself there. Because these are people who knew each other at that point in time. As to who is there first and who will be there, who is also coming, it's not a dispute, in dispute.
Okay. With that, are you saying there's nothing unusual if indeed General Shibiri would have expected that Mr. Matlala may have been coming to your house, that it wouldn't be unreasonable to say that because these are people that know each other?
Yes, simply because at that time, Mr. Matlala was not in trouble and there was nothing really on the table. So nobody knew. I myself, I didn't know and I didn't expect. I wouldn't have taken a risk of inviting someone that is we all know that is wanted or is under investigation, because my colleagues were also there. I would have been taking a big risk. But because at that point in time, we were talking about a man who is actually working with the police as a stakeholder, working with the police. So for me, really, at that point in time, now I can be killed now for that, but at that point in time, we were all innocent.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Singh.
Sorry, General, something you said, I was going to move off, but something you said prevents me from moving off this now, because you say, you would have had concern if you had known that there were allegations of criminality against Mr. Matlala. That would have been a risk. But leave that aside. You are aware that Mr. Matlala is a service provider, and you invite him to a celebration at your home. And as a service provider, bearing in mind this is not like service excellence awards or those kind of situations which are formal, professional kind of environments where service providers are. This is a private, intimate affair. Isn't that contrary to the SAP's regulations and national instructions that govern how you are to manage conflicts of interest? Because isn't that a risk? So quite apart from criminality, isn't it a risk that you may be seen to be biased in favor of a service provider?
I want to answer it in twofold. The first one is the fact that I'm a detective. And if Mr. Matlala is a service provider who works for supply chain, where they allocate tenders, or him supplying service in the detective space, I would be a little bit cautious in doing that. But the second thing that I want to
Sorry, before you say the second thing, can you just repeat for me? You said if something, then you would be cautious, but I didn't quite
I said
understand.
I
it.
would
Can you
be
repeat?
cautious or maybe apply my mind in having to invite someone that I know that is a service provider in the detective space, and I invite him to me. But the supply chain is a division on its own, which is far from where I am. I don't even know the people who sit on how tenders are allocated. So I'm far from that space. So I know him as a stakeholder in the police. And that being the case, it's not like it was the first time it's happening with Matlala. Moving to the second part and say, what applies to the goose must also apply to the ganders. And I tried to give such an example yesterday when Commissioner Balo says that, no, General, don't go there. To say I was trying to say this, to mention the same point and say, and this was also discussed at the ad hoc committee. When, if you remember, one of the members, Honorable Diko, saying she also attended a wedding where one of the senior managers from the South African Police Service attended a wedding of a service provider of Metropolitan. And I'm saying we've attended several incidents or events, including the 5th of March, where we were with the service provider who is actually the one awarded, I think, that the same tender that has been cancelled from Mr. Matlala. We were with that service provider, with the senior manager, because she came with those service providers. So I'm just saying, to me, you build relationship with stakeholders, and not because of they have to support you or give you something. As human beings, it happens normally, and not because there's any corrupt relationship. So I was just putting, lastly, the one that I want to put also strongly so, is the fact that even General Mkhwanazi himself met with him, and not to discuss any other thing. Worse of him, they were discussing on how he can help him to get more work. So I was just saying that, and he didn't even disclose it here. So I'm just saying it happens with all of us.
No, okay, I hear that. I'll ask you as we go forward and you answer to just stick to the questions as it applies to you, rather than saying, but so-and-so did this, and so-and-so did that, and so-and-so. That's the first thing. But now that you've given these examples, what is your point of giving the examples? Is it to say that they also committed wrongdoing, or are you saying there's nothing wrong with what they did?
I'm saying if it is wrongdoing on my part, it shouldn't be wrongdoing on my part when the next person can do the same thing and nothing being said about him. And in other words, you know, when George Orwell says all animals are equals, but others are more equal than others, he refers to the same situation. I am standing here having to face to answer questions of knowing Matlala or having spoken to Matlala. But when others are doing it, it's not even a subject to be looked at or discussed. So it is my wish and my prayer that at the ultimate end, what do you call, I don't know if I'll quote it right, ruat justitia culem, let justice be done though the heavens fall. Meaning, when we leave this commission, let it not be because of ours lined up through this way of the questioning that didn't get to put all the other. His is more double than actually what he's saying. And then let let the commission be able to assess everything and all at once, rather than having a situation where he went up to the mountain, he threw stones, he's the one now who's going collecting everyone's phones, deleting that what affects him, and then at the ultimate end, we are being prosecuted, or investigated, cross-examined, all of us. And in their case, even the report that gets then given and said for further investigation, get given to him again to investigate again. It's not fair.
Okay, so you've said a lot, and you've given, I think what you're trying to give me a lesson in how the commission should be run.
Justice.
You're giving me a lesson in justice. Okay. So I am not going to engage with you on that. I just want an answer to the question. Okay. When I said to you, are you raising these examples because they didn't do anything wrong, therefore you shouldn't be called out for the same behavior? Or are you saying they also, what they did was wrong and they should be called out? I mean, it's a simple thing, and I don't want a lecture, please.
I didn't see anything wrong.
Okay, all right. And as regards your first part of your answer, you said that you're not in supply chain management. So, therefore, it's okay to have had a service provider present. I am making a distinction here between engaging with service providers as stakeholders in a professional context and having a service provider at a private, intimate family gathering, that there's a difference. So just bearing that in mind, can your regulations and instructions dealing with conflicts of interest, doesn't it apply to every employee within SAPS, not only to some? So meaning anybody who might be at risk of showing bias to service provider, even if you're not in supply chain management, that is something you need to be cautious about.
I'm not an expert in that regard or no have knowledge, deep knowledge around that aspect, other than to say that I'm sure as human beings, in the absence of being a policeman, I'm a human being. If I have a death case in the family, or I have an event, and then there's someone that I know, I have seen situations where someone says, hey, I can't invite you because obviously it's going to be questionable. That why did I invite this one or that one, maybe at the wedding. But in my case, at that point in time, I really didn't mind if he's coming, because the main reason, the main purpose was to come to collect his wife per se. But I didn't really have any problem. So I guess, Chair, I don't want to waste your time, but I just want to say I may not have a deep knowledge in terms of what the standing orders or what the regulations are saying, specifically in relation to who in fact can be invited and who cannot and under what circumstances. If he was in supply chain and I participated in the process, I would also understand. But now that is something that is far from me.
Yeah, we've dealt with that. I've explained to you why it doesn't matter whether you're in supply chain or not. It's something that would bind all employees of the SAPS. But I hear you saying you're not aware of the standing orders or regulations or instructions governing this. That's what you're saying. I'll ask you one last question on this then. Isn't it incumbent upon senior management in the service to be aware of those regulations and instructions concerning conflict of interest, particularly so that you can set an example for subordinates?
It is, in particular, when you know that you shouldn't be mixing with this person because this person is a service provider in a space where you are operating. or that affect or that is relevant to your work environment. Now, my work environment is completely different one. I'm not in HR, I'm not in supply chain.
I'm going to leave it there, Chair.
Can I just ask a question that I should have asked General, still to do with this WhatsApp? In the same vein as my last question to you, did you inform General Shibiri? We've established he was at your house. Did you inform him that Sergeant Nkosi would also be coming to your house?
I don't remember, Chair.
Yes.
I don't remember. All I know is that Sergeant Kosi was the one actually who helped me, I think, in the mornings to put things
Yes.
together, and then he left.
Yes.
And then maybe he was to come later. Sometimes he would just help and go and say, I'll come back later, but doesn't come. And to me, as long as he helped me, so I didn't discuss the issue of, I might have said actually Shibiri may come or will come. I don't want to limit myself to like, no, I don't know, I don't remember, I don't know. I'm just trying to put,
You may have mentioned it.
I
you say.
may have.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask is because if you look at that page 546, the very last message there, which is message number 8, it has General Shibiri asking, where are you? And then it say Kanji. And then if you turn to the next page, he corrects himself and then he says Kanti. And this is a message to Sergeant Nkosi. That message conveys that he was expecting him to be there. That's why I'm asking whether you would have told him that Sergeant Nkosi would arrive.
Yes.
Okay. But you say you may have
I
told
may
him.
have, but may I comment on something?
Yes,
that-
sure.
The Sergeant Gosi, Shiviri, they're also colleagues and they know each other and they're close as well. At work, you will have people that you have a good relationship with and that you may not have a close relationship. So to me, it's not a surprise even when they ask one another whether you're coming or not.
Okay, to your house.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. And then before Ms. Hassan moves on to a different topic, let me just clarify something from the discussion that we had yesterday. And this relates to the circumstances in which Mr. Kaula was arrested. Ms. Hassan, are you still going to go to that or you're done with that topic?
I'm done with that topic,
Okay.
Commissioner.
You explained to us the team, there's a team, I think it's Brigadier Mbangwa, Ramangwa, who was responsible for this. And then clearly we know that Sergeant Nkosi got involved in the way that it is being described. What I wasn't sure about is how does that case, and this comes from something that you had said earlier in your evidence about some matters being provincial, being at province, being dealt with at province. How this matter of Mr. Kaula, how does it become a matter at national level? If you could just explain how the system works. Does it mean a complaint was laid at national head office, that it's not being dealt with by province, that you got involved in it? If you just explain those processes.
If you remember, Commissioner, yesterday I did mention that actually the matter, the warrant of arrest, it was reported and warrant of arrest applied for by the province office, number one. Number two, and I don't know how the warrant of arrest got to, or the warrant of arrest, which means it might have been sent to me as well or to Brigadier Ramangwa.
Brigadier Ramangwa is where? At national or province?
National.
Okay.
And then also working with the tracking teams, all the tracking teams. So in that capacity, he will get it as well because he's at national office and is able to disseminate it to different provinces that has got tracking teams to say he is at head office and we have a database of all the warrant of arrest and all the people that must be tracked down. So that is why he will have access to that.
And does that change? I mean, if because of where he's sitting, he then has access to the database, does that change this case from being a provincial case to being a national case?
No,
It remains a provincial case.
it remains the South African Police Service case. When I say that, it means that.
All right, please, General, let's not be facetious about it. I am asking the difference between a provincial, I know they're all subs cases. Please accept, I understand that. So I'm asking a different question. You've said that the complaint would have been raised at provincial. I'm trying to understand, how does it escalate to become a national case that now Ramangwa is, Ramangwa, I think, is now dealing with, now Sergeant Kosi is dealing with it. Now we know, I think he said Zungu is DPCI, and I'm not concerning you about all of those. I'm just trying to understand your processes. It's a provincial case. It's now in the hands of someone who is at national, who constitutes a team to go and arrest this person. I'm trying to understand, does it change from provincial to national? Firstly, maybe let me take it bit by bit. Did this case change from being a provincial to a national case?
No,
Okay.
but we are able to work together and become a joint project. And not only in this one, in many others.
Okay. And in this case, and I'm still trying to understand your processes. I'm not saying to you yet, if I will get there, I'm not yet saying something went wrong here. I'm still trying to understand your processes. So from how, now that Mr. Ramangwa or Brigadier Ramangwa is dealing with it, where is the role of the province to whom this complaint was laid? I mean, my layman expectation would be it remains a provincial docket. The investigating officer would be a provincial person. The one who constitutes team to go arrest would be a provincial, maybe assisted by national, but the in charge would be a provincial. That's my layman expectation. So I'm asking you to explain whether that's indeed what happened or this is different, and then we'll get to why.
It happens that when a matter is reported at provincial office, sometimes you find that because they are overwhelmed by the situation, bearing in mind the number of cases each investigator is having, sometimes you find a difficult complainant or a complainant who's desperate or who is crying, who also reports to head office or to a minister or deputy minister or to the national commissioner, some even to the president. To an extent now, when head office gets involved, normally or under normal circumstances, it will come to me. From any minister, deputy minister, it will come to me because I'm the one now in charge of all of them. Now, when it comes to me, I will then also tell someone, allocate someone here at head office and say, follow up with the province and make sure that this matter gets the attention it deserves. Or if this is a matter that I see that this one we can make quick impact, if we jump in and work on it, all of us, we do that. A clear example is this one of Jerry Bushoha, Mr. Bushoha, and the one of the journalists that were killed in Madlanga, where the complaint comes. It's a provincial thing, but the complaint comes now to head office and say, not much has been done, please get involved. And then we get involved. That's how we got involved, not because of,
So for Brigadier Ramangwa to then assume the role that he played, it would have had to come, this from province would have had to come to you first.
That's correct.
Okay. Did that happen in this case?
I think so.
It came to you first.
I think so.
And then you assigned him to deal with it.
That is correct.
And when it comes to you, through whom does it come to you? Who at province brought this case to you?
Where I'm sitting, I can't remember now how it came to me. If I was in the office, I was going to ask to say, did it come through an email? Was it reported by the policeman? Did it come from the client, the complainant, or where does it? How did we get it? I would know, but at this present moment, I can't remember how it got to me, or whether it came to me, or from the province to Ramawa or to me, because they are also on the ground. They are working with the provinces. So at this present moment, I'm really not able to say that for sure it came from province to me, or from the complainant to me, or from the complainant to Ramawa, or from the complainant, maybe, I don't know if Fanny got it from who, Mr. Nkosi got it from who. So it's something that I cannot with absolute certainty say in such a way that at the later stage, then there comes a record or proof and say, no, but this is not how it happened. This is how it happened with evidence that I don't have where I'm sitting.
Yeah, I think, General, that last part, don't be concerned about it for now. That's why I first asked you about processes. The way I think part of the evidence that we've had and emphasized over and over is there's a command structure. You know, people don't just go about doing their own thing. So I would expect, and please tell me if I'm wrong, that communication to you from province has got a structure. There's a way of communicating, a command, I think that's what the language that has been used, that a police officer who's sitting in Sentin police station can't just pick up the phone. That's not how your command structure works. They can't just pick up the phone and say, General Siyiba, there is this. Am I correct in proposing that?
Commissioners, the space we are working in is I don't want to say it's very funny. It's doable. It's possible sometimes for an investigator and say, I have an interference here, or it look like so and so's got interest, or the people I'm working with, some of them are close to this type of a person or around that, and say, can you take this docket? I don't mind. Then the an investigator can arrange that this docket go up there. Like, it just can happen anyway. It's not always the case where I have to write a letter to the provincial commissioner or to the deputy provincial commissioner. It's how it's supposed to work under normal circumstances, or from the provincial commissioner to head office. Like in the case of Mr. Boshoha, I personally contacted the deputy provincial commissioner. I don't know whether it was in writing or telephonical, but I did speak to him. And then they did, initially for quite some months, in between, or weeks, they were not sending it. And nothing was happening on the case. Up until I then, or it was after I got that call from a visit from Mr. Boshoha's brother-in-law. That's when I called them now and say, we want that docket. And I think they give us a duplicate, but they didn't give us everything. They did give us a docket. And then that's when I allocated a bigger team to run with the matter. So what I'm saying, Commissioner, is that there's no hard and fast rules on the process itself. It may have some gaps in terms of communication, or in terms of how, strictly speaking, things could work. And another last example is this one. Let's say from KZN, initially when they say we got a call from organized crime, they needed assistance. Then organized crime says, we never. And then comes the issue of, no, General Kumalo from CI made it what do you call it, from intelligence. And then we then intervene from that angle as from General Kumalo.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You see, General, you say, and if you don't remember, you don't remember. I can't press, and for you to remember things if you don't remember them. You say you can't say who spoke to you about this, and then you spoke to Brigadier Ramangwa. At least that much you accept. You spoke to Brigadier Ramangwa, and that's how he gets involved. But you say you can't say whether you got a call from the client who is the complainant, whether you got it from someone at province or the police station. That's fine. I can work with that. But the difficulty then is that Sergeant Nkosi remembers that you called him and said you are under pressure from the deputy minister. The deputy minister, when he was asked who's the deputy minister, I think he said Deputy Minister Matlala. I think that's what he said. So we will have to, he will come back and testify and he'll be asked further questions. But if he's firm, he remains firm in his evidence that you told him that you were under pressure from the deputy minister, when in fact you say you don't remember, then I think it would be fair, and maybe that's what I'm putting to you, that it would be, on the one side you don't remember, we've got a witness who says, I firmly say this is what he said to me, that it may well be reasonable to accept that in fact that's what happened, because you don't remember, so it may well be the deputy minister who called you. That's what I don't remember means. It means could be anyone, and now you've got a witness who puts a name to it. And that name is you told him that you were under pressure from the deputy minister. Do you want to comment?
I was never under pressure from the deputy minister. Of course, you do sometimes will get that pressure from the deputy minister. And I don't say Deputy Minister Matlala, or from the National Commissioner, or from the minister. In this sense, if the family complains, we also don't know how they get the telephone numbers of the ministers or deputy ministers. If the family keeps on crying on to the minister, and the minister knows that I've assigned this matter to the detective, to General Siyiba, and we haven't been able to contact the family or deal with the family. And the deputy minister get a call again from the family and say, I haven't been contacted. Under such circumstances, you'll get a call that says, but General, I spoke to you about this matter and the family keeps on complaining that they are not being attended to. And what do you mean when you talk about service delivery and the Batopele principles? Why can't you just really deal with this thing, or must I?
Maybe, General, let me stop you. I do accept that you possibly do get calls, even from members of the public who happen to have your number. So I'm not quarreling with that. May well be your everyday experience, and I expect it to be like that. What I'm putting to you, or what I'm discussing with you, is that you don't remember how you got involved with this. Who called you? Was it province? Was it the complainant themselves, or somebody else? You don't remember. And that's your evidence. And I'm not challenging that you say, I don't remember who. I don't challenge that. All I was putting to you was, well, you don't remember. We have a witness who says you told him it was the minister. So you've got those, and so we have to. It may well be that in the end, it's his evidence that stands, because he says, I remember. This is what happened. So you can't dispute it, it seems, because that's what I don't remember means. It means you don't dispute when Sergeant Nkosi says you told him it's the minister, deputy minister, who's putting you under pressure. And I was just asking you to comment on that.
I never got any pressure from the minister.
Yeah.
I never told Sergeant Nkosi that please do this. I've got the pressure from the minister, not even at the level of Sergeant Nkosi. I would understand if it was Brigadier Ramangwa saying that, but in many instances, I would also tell them that, guys,
But what do you mean not at the level of Sergeant Nkosi?
the level of Sergeant Nkosi is at the lower level. I can't say to him that I'm getting pressure from the minister. I would say let's say to Brigadier Ramangwa, please, any query that comes from the National Commissioner Ministers or Ministry, let's also